Right. So I think welcome to this Power Apps Developer Bootcamp. And today we are going to talk about some performance for Power Apps, basically the Canvas apps that will also cover some portion of model driven app as well. And because the topics that we are touching upon that like the architecture wise, some of like the common topics, tips and tricks that will be applicable for everywhere. All right, so let's start with myself, Keval Solanki. I am a software architect based at India, Tieto Every. I am a speaker, Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm also been working a lot of years with SharePoint, Office 365, and for last 1.5 year with Power Platform. I am also one of the organizer in Power Platform as well as community member. All right, so I like to take this opportunity to thank sponsors and organizers as well, because without this, definitely we should be not here and sharing the knowledge. That's great, and thank you. Um, in this session agenda, just a second, I will stop my video just to save the bandwidth. Yeah. All right. So here is our session agenda. So we'll talk about why the performance is important for any application, specifically our Power Apps. Then we'll talk about what are the app designs are available, which are the tools that is available where we can, address the performance things. What are the limitations or what are the limits defined by Microsoft? There are practical tips and techniques based on my experience and with Microsoft guidelines I will present. Then app settings followed by Q&A. But definitely it's not limited to, you can have the Q&A in between as well. Yeah. Maybe Arpit and Ras can guide and say if there are some question in between. So feel free, guys. Okay. So let's start with why we are talking so much about the performance. Okay. Oops. We don't want to see this kind of a screen much often, right? And that is the one of the big reason why we need a performance for better user experience and user engagement. Correct. Currently there are so much customer adaptation is going on with Power Platform. Okay, from stats, 250% more than the last year. Actually they have already adopted the Power Platform. Around 86% of Fortune 500 already using Power Apps. Yeah. But in terms of our Power Platform, somewhat around 97% person are using this Power Platform. Then we are having a different integrations with tools and technologies. Yeah. So definitely once your application is interacting with different endpoints, you need to work on this stuff. You don't want your app to be crash, the slower response and things like that. You are interested in the things what you want actually. So there are so much data is available, but retrieve and react with only what you want. And finally, actually, this is not very important because this is the developer stuff. Yeah, there are citizen developers are there, but our responsibility in terms of this performance is high than this guy. So definitely we need to work on this performances, right? Now let's talk about some of the app designs. Here is one of the example where it is showing the data flow with online data sources. Okay, so how your request from going from Power Apps client application to different data sources. When we are talking about the online data sources, it means your SharePoint, your OneDrive, right? Azure services and things like that. So here, let's see how your data will flow from client to application. Assume this is one of your Canvas app, yeah, that is using SharePoint online data connector. Okay, so the request will go as an OData. Yeah, this will be your Azure API management. Okay, which will translate your request through the connector and it will reach to the endpoint of SharePoint Online. Yeah, so now here your data will be processed, correct? And the vice versa, your request will travel to the client, and here your Power Apps will process all your requests. Now observe here different layers. Okay, API connectors and data sources all will add some processing time, execution time to your request. Correct. So second example that we would like to highlight is on-premises data gateway. So what is on-premises data gateway is like example, there is a capability where you can connect your data to SharePoint on-prem. Okay. Then you can connect also to SQL Server, some legacy application as well. So now what is your uh, flow in that case? So you observe there is an extra layer of data gateways introduced, which will, translate your OData request into the native data source readable format. Right. So here there is one more layer, one more execution step increase. So hence your execution time and performance will be also impacted. Correct. Now let's see one more example where we are dealing with Dataverse. Okay. Here is now your Canvas app, which is connecting to the Microsoft database. Now, Dataverse is part of your Power Platform. It is native to your platform. So you observe your request directly going to the Dataverse. There is no extra layers are there. Correct. Hence, your execution time definitely will be reduced in this case. So whenever you can use the Dataverse as a data source, try to replicate data either with dual write or virtual entries is push into the Dataverse and try to use directly from here. Okay. Now, second thing, as we talk about this data source, right? So there is an bottleneck. Actually, there may be a server slowness. There may be some of the example in terms of SQL queries that is not performing well on your machine. Some of the optimization that is also you need to do at SQL level or the one of the on-premises data sources you are working. So this is very also important when you are working with your application. You need to optimize as much as you can while you are dealing with your data source. Another point is there are the geographical distance. So assume um, your user is in EU region, okay, and your data is in some like American region. So in that case, your distance to the data is far. Yeah. In that case, it is suggested that you keep both into the same region, yeah, to give the best output. Because if you are increasing the distance, it will increase the latency, uh, packet loss, and bandwidth also. Yeah. Another one is client browser and supported devices. This is actually also important when you're working with Power Apps. So check what are these client browsers recommended by Microsoft, what are these devices that is recommended, what are kind of the memories is required if you are running on a mobile devices. So these are the very small things, but same time very effective. Okay. Now we talk about designs. Now let's talk about the tools that is uh, we can use for measuring the performance. So first is the tool is monitor. So what is a monitor tool? We'll go with one of the demo and see. Okay. Here is my Power Apps Studio. Okay, where here is one of the app. If you go into the monitor, okay, it will open this. Okay, might be I need to refresh because it's already open long time. Yeah. So this will open like this. Okay. And let's see what is inside that. So there is a button called Play Publish App. Yeah. This monitor is a very useful tool, yeah, provided by Microsoft, where you can track each and every request, each interaction with your controls on your screen. Yeah, it will give the request response time with the duration. Okay, so example, now I loaded one of my app, okay, sample app. Then behind the scene you can see there are like the traces are already retrieved. So example, whatever like the screen load time is there, correct, what, how many data it is written, what kind of the data source, or you can say the table it touch upon, as well as what is the control is impacted with this. Okay, and here you can just see the duration in a milliseconds. Now with this you can observe that, for example, if you are, you know, have a doubt on one of the controls, you can see how much time it is taking after your, for example, the improvement, or whether you need it or not. Correct. This is one of the example where you are using the monitor. Another way you can also see the monitor, and third way you can directly open from here as well, from app checker. So now as we are on this screen already, just a second, might be, yeah. Okay, so as we are on this screen, yeah, this is one of the app that we have opened into edit mode. Yeah. Another tool which I'm going to talk about, which is an app checker. So what is an app checker? App checker will give the details of um, different errors and warnings in your app. Yeah. Whether it is on formula level, it's a runtime error. There are like some of the accessibility or UI related issue, and importantly, you can see there is one also a warning message respect to the performance. Correct. So these all are the errors and warnings you need to resolve to make your app a performance effective solution. Correct. Going back again to this. So we talk about monitor and app checker. Now let's see the third tool, which is an analytics. Okay. So analytics is also into this Power Apps itself, where you can monitor again the different things related to the performance. Now let's go back again to the demo. Just a second, I'm facing some issue with this UI. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. All right. So when you say the analytics, so one way where you can track the analytics is this. Go to any app. There is a menu called analytics. So this will give the analytics at app level. Yeah. Second way, you can go into your admin center. So how you can go to the admin center? From settings, admin center. Okay. So I already opened for you. So once this is open, you can go into the analytics. There is an option of Power Apps. Correct. Here there are different parameters are there. One of them is service performance. Yeah. But with this service performance, just a second, it's loading. Yeah. You can track what is your best performing service, your least performing service, correct? How many times that request has failed. Actually, this is my test environment, so there is nothing much on this side, but there are like different parameters where you can take. You can see here the time taken for service response, success ratio. Okay, this will all add to your performance matrix and where you can track. Here you can, there is an also filter where with environment wise and the time duration wise, you can drill down your result. Now coming back to this actually, where we are seeing the app wise performance. So there is, you can see users performance and locations. Okay, users, you can track how many users are using, what is the like the active users are there, and then what kind of the location, what kind of the, whether it's from the um, device or from the browser are there. So this is just an overview. and a pointer for you. You can check the performance of your Power Apps. Correct. All right. Now going back again to the screen analytics, and we'll see also the practical use of this analytics into the next slide as well. Yeah. Fourth one, where we can see the different network trace is using the developer tool. So developer tools is available on each and every browser now. If you are using the IE, there is an option into the developer tools where you can go to the network and track each and every request, that how many times it taken, what is the status, and things like that. Correct. Now coming back to this Power Apps code review tool. So this is a very useful tool. It is just introduced I think 1.5 months before. Yeah. Let's see in practice what it is and how it looks actually. So this comes as an free tool, as an power community from the different developers as well as Microsoft. And okay, just a second. You can see it is available on this GitHub, okay, where you can download the zip file, upload to solution and start using. So once you upload the solution, it will give the app like this, Power Apps review tool. Okay, here I already opened for you, okay, where I created one of the review, this one, dev review, just for a sample and to show you the capabilities of this tool. And I added one app for a review. So you can see there are different parameters regarding the performance, even maintainability, okay, custom standards and things. So these all are supported and suggested by Microsoft, and based on that they have created the tool like this. There is also, you can see the option of pass and fail as well. Some of are automated and you can also mark, and based on that, this is one of the interesting things. You can see the statistics where you can measure your app's performance, how it performed well based on the optimizations or things you did. So right now the app score is 70%. Yeah. Once you pass all of the tests, then definitely the score will be increased. And it will also give you the what are the high level of request or the correction you need to make in your code. Okay. There are other portion as well to this tool called app checker result, which is also integrated into this Power App Studio that we talked earlier. This will also give you the picture from that as well. Correct. Then these are the app settings, okay, which are the recommended by Microsoft, which you have not done, for example, into your developer uh, App Studio. Okay. Then this is like the code viewer. So overall code viewer, which will give the everything on the screen. Correct. All right. Moving ahead. So guys, please try to see this tool, install it, and see how many recommendation and suggestion is provided from this code review tool. Definitely, this is an ongoing process. They are still developing and improving as well. So in a future, you will see more kind of feature and stability to this tools. Okay. Any questions so far? Hello. Uh, am I audible? Yeah.
We have some questions, David, but I
Yeah.
think you go ahead with the session. I think we can take ahead all the questions at the end of the session.
Sorry.
We will take ahead all the questions at the end of your session. I think you can continue with.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Sure. All right. Then we'll go ahead with the limitations of Microsoft and as well as for performance point of view. when you are designing the solution, you should also know the limitations. Here also there comes some limitations like the data connections, 30 data sources per app. Yeah, these are the max data sources, means the connection to the endpoint. Yeah, um, this is suggested by Microsoft to have the better performance. There are number of controls, 500 controls per app. So controls is like text box, label, whatever the controls that you are adding to your app. So those should be control max 500 per app. Definitely you can have more controls, but it is not, advisable in terms of performance. Then there are like different data source limit. Okay, this is very interesting, and we'll cover more into detail, but just give you this idea that at max from the data source you can retrieve 500 as the default limit by Microsoft. That can be increased to 2000. Yeah, we'll talk more on this in under the delegation and non-delegation portion of the app. So I'm moving ahead with API request limit per user per 24 hours. This is a very, very important topic when you are designing your app. Okay, so example, based on your user license, there is some restrictions by Microsoft to prevent any kind of service stability, to prevent any vulnerability to the system. So these are the imposed by Microsoft. Okay, so example here, Power Apps per user plan. If you are having this plan, you can have the max number of API requests is 5,000. Okay, so what is the API request? Whatever the read, write, even sharing, whatever the operation that you are doing with any of the endpoints or connectors to data sources, that will consider as a number of API request. Okay, and how you can, track this number of API requests. So I show you the monitor portion. Okay, so let's see with one more monitor. Yeah. So into this admin center, there is a service performance as well as users. From the users, you can track, for example, you start running your app for 1 hour, it will, give like how many requests it's making, correct? And uh, now multiply that those requests actually with your number of hours, the example, your users are using that, example, 8 hours. So if you got the 1 hour, like 100 request is making, so multiply by 8, so 800 will be the request max your app is making in a that duration. Definitely you can add on this number of requests, it's not limited. There is a separate licensing is there. So if you put an add on to this API request, it will add 10,000 more. Yeah, but just understand this in terms of API request, that how your app is performing and what are the limitations are attached to different licensing part. I know it's a bit complicated as well as difficult, but we need to get familiar on this, right? Okay, now here we are going to talk on some of the tips and techniques. Some of are like from experience, some of are from Microsoft guidance, and I try to also combine the beginner level as well as an intermediate level. Yeah. So let's start with one example where we are using collections. So collection is, what is a collection? So collection is nothing but storing of your data, yeah, in terms of tabular and array or whatever the form, right? Let's see in practice actually. I have created one demo where let me sorry close all other windows. Yeah. So we have created one demo. What we are doing actually, so we have developed two screen, one without collection and using the collections. Okay, so here is my simple gallery control where I am uh, binding with orders data Okay, and in this case, order number is there, product code is there, and product name is there. But here you see the difference actually. For products code, we are using product table. Okay, so every time from this items, what we are doing is like we are making a lookup query to this products. Okay, using the product code and fetching the product name. Okay, and that we are storing into this LBL product name. Okay, now let's see what it's visible in monitor. Okay, so I started my monitor session playing the publish app. Okay, clicking on this without collection. So by this way, you will also see what is there in monitor, what are the capabilities of monitor as well, right? So you see, once I clicked on this collections button, it loaded this gallery which I showed. And with this, you can see there are plenty of the requests are there. And interestingly, I would like to highlight this specially, this product. Okay, so Kate Rose actually called multiple times. You can see, yeah, here, 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 here. So each and every item where we are binding and fetching the product name, it tries to fetch and query the products table and try to retrieve this. Yeah. And here you observe the duration also 125, 120, 126, 199. Okay. So this is also timing is also increased for each and every request. Now let's see what happens with this with with using the collection. Okay. Now I am on this screen. What I did instead of directly querying to the database on visible property, here I am now fetching the products and putting into the collection. So this is a one method where we can use the collection, store the value of the data into the local storage. It's kind of your local storage throughout your app, correct? Now here you see the difference. Okay, the formula is same. We are making a lookup, but this time we are not touching directly to the endpoint, but instead we are using our cassette object or a collection called column products. Okay, let's see now what happens when we are using with collections. Okay, so I already cleaned this traces. So now with this collection, you can see there is only one request went for the products. Okay, and you observe the duration. Okay, so on visible, once it is rendered, I take it as an cached object, and now using that object to fill this my data. So this is like one of the simple example. Yeah, but there are like the multiple use cases are there where you can use the collections, correct? uh okay, another one. Here you can see there are we have three statement. Okay, where we are fetching order products into this order products collection orders and order details. So each are on a different uh, collection in a different line. So how this Power Apps actually interpreting this statement? So first statement, okay, it will execute first. Once that is completed, it will start with second and then the follow on. So it's like in sequence and with synchronous call, correct? So here observe the execution time. That is, increase, correct? What Microsoft is suggesting, use the concurrent function. Again, the concurrent function is the functionality or the features provided uh, where you can wrap your every statement, okay, and give the concurrent. This will give you the async call or parallel execution of all your requests. And you try to see the performance. This is very, intensive. It will give the so much performance to your application. So try to use the concurrent, but at the same time smartly with different formulas and execution of your application. Okay, clear. Then we are having the cross screen references. So let's see again with one of the demo what we are talking about the cross screen reference. Okay. Okay. Here is again the sample screen where I am on screen 2. Okay. I am using one of the control called drop down order status, and based on that value I am filling up this combo box. Okay, this is very simple example, but now you observe where this control is there. Okay, so control it's on screen 3. Okay, where it is in here. So what happens when we are doing this kind of the practice actually? So uh, if you are using a cross screen reference, then even in your sometimes you are not on that screen, it will try to load that screen. Okay, sometimes there is a chances that user even don't go to the screen 3 anytime. Yeah, but still because you have refer this in the screen 2, it will load the screen 3 as well, and that will increase your performance execution time. Let's see in practice what I mean to say and how it looks again into this monitor. So I am on app 1. Okay, just a second. Okay, you can see stress is already started. Now, what I am doing, I'm once I enter, I will land into the screen 2. Okay, but just observe what happens here. Okay, it will take some time, just a second, to load sometime the traces. Yeah, okay, here we got it. Okay, here you see on line number 4, okay, there is a complaint regarding the performance which is indicating into the operation as inefficient control reference which you are using from screen 2 to screen 3 as a warning. Yeah, what is there inside the details portion? Now see what is the issue. Okay, so it will indicate that control in the screens as it is referring to the other screen which may force the app to load the screen immediately. Correct. So this is sometimes very the common practice that people follow, but this is not a good practice. Actually we should not use this practice while dealing with the performance. Instead what you can do, use the global variable, use the context variables. So, yeah, if that is fulfilling your things, use the collections instead of these are the options. Okay, all right. Is we correct? Yeah, one more thing I forgot actually. So if you go over here at a upfront, upfront level where you can also get from the app checker, there is a warning of app in app checker. So you can see over here already. Yeah, sorry, not this one. Clear cut all products. Okay, just a second. Probably okay, maybe runtime. Sorry. Okay, so my mistake maybe. So generally You can see also the common warnings or the performance issue into this app checker as well. Currently, I don't know why it's not showing, but that is also one way where you can track. All right, coming back to this, use local cache to hold your data. Yeah. Um, let's see with one of the example as well. Okay, same screen example. Now observe here, sometimes you want to retrieve the basic user details like the logged in user, like the department and the things, for example, where you are using the same things on multiple screen as well. Yeah. So instead of querying the data on all other screen, what you can do, you can use this global variable. So how you can use the global variable is using this formula, a statement called set. Yeah, this is a one of the statement which will create a global variable, and the lifespan of this is throughout your app. So at any screen you can retrieve the data, correct? So here in this case, what I have did on visible, actually, I provided my user email and searching for my context detail, okay, and putting into the user contact, correct? Now here the contact details is already created this app. So instead of this, for example, I can use this. Okay, full name. Okay, same way here, as I'm having now the data into one of the local cache, I can use this for retrieving the department. Same on screen 2, for example, you can see I'm using this for. So this way you are reducing the load, querying the data execution time on your server. All right. So this avoiding the repeating formula at multiple places, is I already explained while taking an example of collections, as well as right now with global variable, where you can avoid the same formula at multiple places, correct? Now let's see what's next. All right, this is my favorite, actually, the delegation. So what is a delegation? Delegation is processing your data on a server side rather than you are processing your data on local or on a client, correct? And delegation means process your data, take the data what you want and take it. Uh, we need to understand in this case delegation, that what are the data sources that suppose the delegation. Example, not all the data sources supporting this. Dataverse, SharePoint, SQL, those are some of the things that is supporting the delegation. We'll see that how we can achieve the delegation. Okay, so for achieving the delegation, we need to understand this delegable functions. Okay, now what is delegable function and non-delegation function? Now we know that, for example, the SharePoint is the data source where we can use the delegation. Okay, now we need to understand which are the functions are there that is also supporting the delegation. Now relating this, we need to check this advanced setting. So what I mean to say when we say the advanced settings, okay, okay, here is the data row limit for non-delegable queries, which is the default is 500. So any of the app that you are developing, the default limit is 500, correct? This limit can be increased to the maximum 2000. Yeah, as we talk about the API limits protection as well as the performance point of view earlier. So now let's say what is this delegable and non-delegable queries. Okay, so we'll understand with one of the example. Now default row limit, say for example, it's 500, correct? You are dealing with SharePoint online data items, example, say 2000, correct? So with delegable function, what happens actually, you query to your database and say, okay, retrieve this many items. Okay, here in SharePoint database, it's currently is 2000 items. So it will scans entire 2000 items, correct? But in case of a non-delegable function, okay, it will only retrieve 500 items and return your result. Okay, so in non-delegable, what happens, it will just go to the server, fetch 500 items and local the data process the data locally. Yeah, where in this case delegable function, it will goes and search for 2000 items and retrieve whatever we are looking for. Okay, so you understood this difference. Okay, example, in this case, we are having a 2000 item. Yeah, what we can do, we can increase the size now to 2000. Okay, so now in this case, non-delegable query, this also will work. For example, now it will retrieve 2000 item. But suppose now your data is 3000. What you will do? Okay, there is no way. So only the way which is use the delegable functions. Okay, so in this case, it will scan the 3000 item and retrieve the data. Yeah, where in this case, what happens? It will retrieve first 2000 items, it will skip another 1000 item, and this will not give you the consistent result. Correct? I hope this is bit over, whelming, but understand. But I'm sure you will see uh, by reading such more on this, that what is delegation and non-delegation. But my idea is to just give you some of the pointers. Here we'll see one of the example where we are using this SharePoint data source. We are using the filter. So now you see the formula, okay? The function filter is delegable, SharePoint data source also delegable, but here see what we are doing. We are comparing the IDs 1, 2, 3. Okay. What happens, this is considered as a delegable function, so it will treat for the all 3000 item example. But in this second example, even though SharePoint data source is there, filter is also delegable, but the manipulation over this comparison is not correct, because we are comparing ID assuming as a numeric and we are comparing with string, so this will be treated as a non-delegable function. These are the very small thing but important when you are working with formulas. Correct. Um, these are like the ways where we can address the delegation. But if your delegation is not handled properly, you will see this kind of a delegation warnings into your app. So delegation warnings, okay, you can see it says that it will not work on large data sets. And coming back, sorry, again to this where you can see the delegation warning as well. Okay. Performance, sorry. Formulas. Yeah, you can see the delegation warning like this. Okay, inside the formulas. Okay. And try to fix this all errors, then you will be in good shape. Yeah. Okay. Next is on start versus on visible. So what is on start? On start is generally works when your app first launch. Okay. And whereas in on visible, it is applicable for each and every screen you where uh, it will load with each screen load. Correct. But there is a difference with on start and on visible. Many of the time actually the user is complaining, customer is complaining that my app is not loading properly. So you can see first impression is light impression. First screen should be launched very quickly. Actually, it will give a better output. So in this case, we need to understand what is there in on start. Actually, on start will block your UI. It will, display your splash screen until your formula is not manipulated, right? So try to minimize your formula all on start. Instead, try to use different combinations, yeah, or put it into the on visible if it is really required. Sometimes, happen we are loading everything on start or on visible on screen one itself, yeah, where those data actually require on screen three, yeah. It's just not a good practice. So try to adjust this combination. Same time, on visible is non-blocking. Yeah, as I mentioned, on start, on visible. So try to otherwise have the mix of this to give more advantage to your app. Correct? Enable delay output on all text input controls. Okay, let's see with one more demo. Okay, sorry. Right. Okay, I am on this screen. Okay, so what Microsoft is saying, and it suggested that you need to enable delay output. So what is a delay output? Let's see in practice. So I'm having this search box where I am searching, I'm typing, and immediately, the result are reflecting. Okay. So which each keystroke, the result are rendering. So what happens inside this actually with each keystroke, it will making a request to the servers or some collection. So it is increasing your processing time. So instead of that, what you can do, you to go to the delay output. Okay, sorry, there is some issue maybe. Okay, maybe I didn't save that. Okay, so instead of that, you can use the delay output as true. I'm not sure I have changed this already earlier or not, but this should be a true one. Okay. So now if you observe, once you remove the key actually, then only the result will render. So ultimately you will have only the single request once your keystroke is done. All the correct. I hope you understood this. This is very small thing again, but very useful when you are dealing with the different text input controls. You are using some manipulation on those input controls, firing some formulas, retrieving something, processing something. This is very important, right? Then remove your unused controls or variables. Right? Why this is important? We are storing so many, stuff on hidden controls. Some of these controls are not at all used. Yeah, and sometimes uh, we also don't know why we have using this. Correct. So in this case, what happens behind the scene for each and every control that you are using, uh, it will generate HTML DOM. It will generate, the processing time. So remove all those unnecessary stuff. Try to minimize even those controls. Also, when another guidelines is that use the gallery controls where you are having the repetitive stuff. Okay. Also, you try to format your data in such a way in like text format directly, which will bind to your uh, forms or gallery controls instead of using the controls. And there is one more. This is why important. This is also important in terms of control limitation which we discussed, like 500 limit was the thing. Correct. Now going ahead, sorry, I think we are having only 10 minutes, but I think this is the last one, and just would like to emphasize on this. Use delay load. Okay, what is the delay load? Now we talk some of the app settings. Going again to this demo. Okay, now with every app you design, go to the edit mode into the advanced setting. There are many of the feature. available as some of our like preview features, some of like experiment features, or some of like deprecated features. But try to at least use this delay load. Okay. Yeah, delay load. What is the delay load actually? So as per Microsoft, if you are having the more than 10 screen in your app, actually, what happens? Even though sometimes the screen is not needed, it will load into the memory. Okay. With while you enable this delay load, what happens actually? It will load only the data, only the stuff which is required. Yeah. This is very much important feature when definitely you need to enable this feature. Another one which we have used is more concurrent reliable functions, which will give the enhancement to our concurrent function that we have talked. Okay, apart from that, there is one more feature into this advanced training. Now, if you are dealing with the data source as a Microsoft Dataverse, then you need to enable this as well, which will improve your data source experience. Correct? I think okay. One more thing regarding the app settings actually. So generally, I also get some question that what are the app settings that is recommended. So generally, when you are starting a new app, and what are the default settings are there, keep that default settings as it is. Okay, and then you decide as per your try and error actually. So as some of the features are in preview features, also there is no guarantee that that will work on production environment. Okay, so these are some of the trial features are there. Decide and design as per your uh, smartness. Correct. Then last but not least, replay publish your apps regularly. So this is why it is important, because Microsoft is pushing and updating your Dataverse environment, your Power Apps environment continuously. So republishing your app will give enhancement to all those feature and also increase your stability with respect to different functionalities. All right, with that, I think we are still having 7, 8 minutes. We can take now the questions.
Thanks a lot, Keval. I think you have covered a lot of interesting stuff related to the Power Apps best practices and especially related to the performance. Really appreciate your effort. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you. And it's a really pleasure actually, to deliver this session with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So
Uh,
let's quickly have a
hmm,
look all the questions that the guys are having. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So there's a lot of questions are there. Let me find it.
that's good.
So yeah. Okay, so I'm asking from initially like the Subhanshu is asking is control limit of 500 UIS for MDA also. So on a model driven app also.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. But I this covered mainly on the Canvas app. Actually,
Mhm.
I'm not sure about the limitations of the controls on model-driven app. Frankly, because I didn't work much on that part. Yeah, but
All right.
maybe I will get back with the details. Yeah.
And another question of
Hmm.
Concolan is can we use the monitor for embedded in a model driven app Canvas app?
Yes. Okay. Let me show you that.
Okay.
Earlier, actually, this was not available for model-driven apps, actually. But now you see, okay, this is one of the example. I downloaded the sample data from Microsoft, not with orders. You can see there is an option of monitor. Now let's see the difference actually, as we are having some time. So just would like to show you the option. Okay, play model-driven app. Okay, this will also, monitor all your request. Okay, maybe it's asking some credential, but okay, let's see. Yeah, it will ask for to join the session. Yeah, one more option you can invite also here. Yeah, but in Canvas app monitor, okay, here you can see it will ask for joining the monitor session. So once you join the monitor session, whatever the actions you are doing, that will also be trackable over here. It will take some time to load the data. You can see. Yeah, there is one difference called full load. Okay, full load will give the entire. Okay, just a second, where it is, I'm searching. Yeah, you can see this is a full load. Okay, so here like some of the terms that you need to understand in terms of model driven apps. This is the complete page load time it will give in terms of model driven. Correct? Yeah. Coming back to the another questions. Yeah.
Okay, so Bipin is asking, what if I have another screen in the same app to create the products, and how do we refresh my collection to have the latest product data?
Sorry, I didn't follow the question.
So the question is, what if I have another screen in same app to create the product, and how do we refresh my collection to have latest product data? So maybe he is asking like,
Yeah.
if you have the multiple screens
Mm.
in a Canvas app to add the
Mm-hmm.
data in the collection, how
Yeah.
we can refresh
Yeah.
the collection?
Okay. Yeah. So there is different ways. You need to identify the touch points actually. Which are the touch points where you are refreshing, where you need to refresh the data? Example, when you are saving the data, okay, or somebody into the backend system already updating the data. In that case, you can use the timer control. Okay, timer will fire on particular duration, but use the timer with very restricted mode, or you can say the smartly, because every time it will fire it will end up into the API request. Yeah, so I would say try to identify the endpoints, trigger points where you need to refresh that. Yeah, and there is
Or
a function called refresh or option where you can refresh your collection, refresh your data source, and then again fill up your collections.
yeah, so I've also answered this question like use update and update if expression to update the data you have
Yeah.
present in the collection. So I
Yeah.
think you can do that the conditional data. All right, so hope you get the the answer, Bipin. The Subhanshu Bajpayee is asking the collection are cached, so there is a way to update them as a data might change if someone is working in the another app. So I think it's related to the same one. I think how can we refresh the data?
Yes, refresh is the option. Yeah.
Okay, so Aman Burma is asking like, is there any way to allow the multiple developers to work on the same app? So you need to wait for 2 more minutes because my
Yeah.
next session is going to be on the same topic, that how the multiple developers can work on the same app.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right, so
but
yeah,
just a quick actually answer. Actually, there is no provision of multiple developers as of now. But using the component libraries, so one guys can work on one of the component library, another can work on the component, another component library. They can be combined to this app. So that is
yeah.
right now the only way. Yeah.
Thanks, thanks. So I'm going to cover that in more details in my
Oh,
session.
okay.
Yep,
That's
yeah,
great. Oh, your next is yours. Perfect.
yep. So, all right. So, then another question of Sobhansu is, can we refresh the cache? So, I think it's related to the same one, I guess, how we can refresh the collection or the cache record.
Hmm.
And another question is, I think Vipin was asking, can we highlight the first record of a gallery in the Canvas app by doing any sort of features in the Canvas app? So,
First
I think
record on. Hmm.
so if you are displaying a gallery inside your Canvas app, is there any way to highlight the first record by any sort of features in the Canvas app?
Yeah, yeah. There is an option called selected items, so that you can either differentiate with other color or something like that. The selected option. Yeah, you
So
can
Bipin,
check with.
I think we didn't check that part yet. I think we didn't get such requirement. So I think I will definitely check that part, that what are the different ways available so that we can, highlight the first record. So as of now, we cannot give the right, solution for you, but maybe it is possible in the Canvas app.
Yeah.
All right. So I think uh, the time is over now. So I would request a cable to stay with us for 5-10 minutes more to check all the questions that we have on the chat. So you can answer them whatever you can ask. You give the answer for. All right.
Okay, and I think sorry, I forgot to just